Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to some of you. Welcome to the Sustainable Paper Trends and the Need for PEFC Certification, an online EcoSense forum organized by EcoSentidos and Berhad in collaboration with the Malaysian Timber Certification Council. And today we have got an exciting line of speakers lined up for you because we're going to talk about something very, very important to all of us, not only individually, personally, but also to businesses, simply because right now we're talking about the environment, and the environment is under pressure, and we as businesses, we are doing our part to protect the environment. And so we are going to take a listen at a few of our speakers who come from various backgrounds, but interesting backgrounds nevertheless. And we're going to look at areas pertaining to how climate crisis and climate change has been a push factor for organizations and especially large brand owners, and not only just SMEs, and they're supporting supply chain vendors to leverage on responsible sourcing practices. And these responsible sourcing practices include certification of raw materials such as paper, especially for the paper and print and packaging industry. So without further ado, I would like to first record my thank yous to our CEO of MTCC, Mr. Yong Teng Kun. Thank you, sir, for ensuring and approving and helping us with organizing this event. On top of that, I would like to also add on some house rules here. Please introduce yourself with name and your organization so that in the chat box we know who you are. The host will mute you for now, but however, if you have any questions, please feel free to add it onto the chat box. Now, if you have any questions, please hold on until the Q&A session because we'd like to hear the speakers give us all the ideas and inputs. And in case there's an interruption in your internet connection, don't worry. Please just come back in, connect on the link that we've given you during the registration. And please take note that this webinar will be recorded. Thank you for following the house rules. Allow me now to introduce you to the welcome address by our own Director of EcoSentidos and Berhad, Ms. Tay Suting. Suting, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Sunita, and welcome Ms. Fabienne Sinclair, the head of marketing PEFC International, and Mr. Yong, CEO of MTCC, Malaysia Timber Certification Council, and Ms. Sabrina, product manager from MTCC. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining EcoSense Forum on PEFC for program for endorsements of forest certifications today. First of all, I would also like to thank our partner MTCC for their support in jointly organize this event. Next spring, Sdn Bhd actually begins the journey in the paper printing industry since 1997. And about a decade later, we transitioned into eco-printing and eco-packaging business. Our clients are coming from various industries, and we are experiencing an increase in inquiry from industry players over the year, and especially looking for green solutions. And this year marks the 10 years anniversary for our eco-printing, and we hope these events will help to create higher awareness on PEFC and learn how to grow the practical value of PEFC locally and internationally. So the past 10 years experience has now spin off EcoSentido, Sdn Bhd. EcoSentidos carry the brand EcoSense and is focusing in providing training, consultancy, and business support service to handhold business and industry players to lead them towards adopting the green business practices and through our platform on sustainable learning and living. EcoSentido will continue to organize programs that the market needs, and we will get you into our FB, the Facebook page on EcoSense Resource Center. You will find out on our other events there as well. And we will also see the link that shared by my colleagues in the chat box we would like you to also follow us, and we look forward to see some of you in our coming green events. At the same time, I'd like to let you know that we are also offering free consultation services as part of our CSR on every Wednesday from 9 to 1 p.m. online, and you can actually book the slot with us online as well. So I would like to thank our experts today, and we are going to learn from them how can we all do our parts in responsible sourcing through PEFC. And I believe everyone has the seed of eco-sense. Every business can be green business, and as long as we purposefully develop and strengthen it via education, green economy, green culture, in order to have a sustainable civilizations. So let's have a fruitful forum and enjoy the talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Let us now take a listen to the opportunities to grow into global markets by newly acquiring certificates from PEFC. So over to you, Head of Marketing for PEFC International, Fabienne Sinclair. Thank you, Fabienne. Over to you now.
Good morning. I'm just sharing my screen. I want to make sure you can all see my screen. Just a second. Here we go. Let's try this. Nope, it worked earlier on, and now I'm just ensuring that my presentation is in the right screen for you. So bear with me a second. We did a test a few minutes ago, so there's no reason why it won't work. Okay, let's see how that goes. All right. Is that, I'm assuming you can see just the slide, right? The main slide and not my my footnotes. Good. So good afternoon, everyone. It's actually early morning for me here. I'm sitting at the PEFC International office in Geneva. So good day to everyone. I'm Fabienne Sinclair, Head of Marketing for PEFC International. Thank you to Eco Sentido. I'm delighted to, and also to MTCC, of course, our member from Malaysia, and I'm delighted to be on this panel also with Net's Printwork for organizing overall this informative event. And I'm delighted to really help you understand more about PEFC certification, especially in the scope of climate change, and how certification can help your business. So in the next 45 minutes or so, I will be taking you through, of course, we cannot not speak about forest, so I will start in the forest and remind ourselves of their values and also the pressure that are on them. And then I will move into explaining the role of sustainable forest management, and what PEFC is doing in that sphere, and how you can achieve traceability of certified material in your supply chain for your customers, so from your suppliers all the way to your customers. I will explain a little bit about the dynamics on the market, assessments towards PEFC, and also give you a few examples of how PEFC is used by companies today. If we have time, we'll do a quick Q&A. If not, we will do that right at the end. So, starting with the disturbing reality of deforestation. Deforestation is still taking place, even though the rate is decreasing. But you can see here the main reasons for deforestation. I'm not going to dwell on it. We know them, and I'd rather concentrate on the positive stories around forest and some of the solutions that we are here to discuss today. So why is the interest in forest health increasing? I would like to actually start with a poll. So on your screen, you will see soon when Hasif launches it. Perfect, thank you, Hasif. A question. The question is, how many people worldwide depend on forests for their livelihoods? And you have 3 choices. So 300 million, 1 billion, 1.6 billion. Okay, we give you a few more seconds to check who has been voting. So click on the answer A, B, or C as you think is the right answer. So we have about half of you have already voted. We'll wait a couple more seconds to get to half of you, a bit more. Okay, all right. I think we can stop the poll now. So those of you who have voted, 83% of you have the correct answer. 1.6 billion people worldwide depend on forests for their livelihood, according to FAO statistics. So it's a huge amount. That's about 20%, over 20% of the world's population. And just one additional comment, the 300 million, the A answer is related to how many people live within the forest, actually habits within the forest. So thank you for playing this poll. So moving on to why forests have such a strong bond with people in terms of communities, in terms of workers, but also in terms of healthy leisure. So that's really the people story. But there's also biodiversity. 80% of the world terrestrial biodiversity is from forest. Forest is also representing 75% of fresh water through the forested catchment supply. And soil, of course, for not only the nutrition, the rich nutrition, but also, of course, to prevent from soil erosion. Carbon mitigation. Carbon mitigation is the one we speak a lot also at the moment. Did you know that forests absorb approximately 38% of CO2 emissions from fossil fuel use every year? So this is huge. This is huge, and it's not only about carbon absorption. I like to talk we like to talk about the 3 S's. So first one being sequestration, as far as the absorption of the CO2, as we've just seen on the previous slide. Then comes the storage, right? The CO2, as you know, stays in the tree trunks and the whole tree environment forever. Right? Even when the tree is cut, that CO2 is locked in whatever that tree would become. And of course, substitution. Substitution is also a very important one in the time where there is alarming concerns about plastics in our oceans, plastics around in our environment, and other fossil fuels resources that have finite resources. So substitution is very important, and we will see how that works for the timber raw material. We know many industries are relying on timber. So this is good news in a way, because timber is, of course, the only natural material renewable on a large scale. So as long as we look after forest will always be here. However, we need to be mindful that in order to have these sustainable products, there is a great demand for timber. So according to, again, some statistics from FAO, that demand is set to grow by 3-fold by 2050. So how do we protect and restore the quantity and quality of forest? The protect and restore are very important because we are in that situation. In some areas, we need to protect in some areas, we need to bring it back, to restore it. And again, quantity and quality are also very important in the sense of the biodiversity that forests represent. So there are, broadly speaking, 3 elements to really ensure that forests are here and in good health forever. The first one, of course, I would say, is the reduce, reuse, and recycle. But here, more specifically, within our context, is the circular economy, which again lends itself very well to timber fibers, because whether it's in paper, in packaging, in furniture, there is now technology highly available to recycle and find a second life for timber fibers. So that's the very important first element. The second one is the vast program that we see around the world of reforestation and afforestation. It started with the Bone Challenge set in 2011. And now, whether those programs, those initiatives are led by governments, you see here some examples on the screen, whether it's Australia, China, Pakistan, Ethiopia, and so on. So led by governments, but also led by some private companies. And so there's huge investment happening for large-scale reforestation and afforestation. And that needs to continue. And of course, the third key element, part of the solution of protecting and restoring forests, is sustainable forest management. And this is what we're going to talk a bit more today. So here, not that I expect you to read those 3 boxes, but just to say that sustainable forest management is highly supported and encouraged by scientific through the IPCC group, but also FAO, and also, for instance, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. They all recognize the importance of managing our forests sustainably. And this is where PEFC comes in. So, after 20 years of dedication to forest, what is PEFC's global situation? So let me start with explaining a little bit more about PEFC. As it was said, so PEFC is the program for the endorsement of forest certification. We are a global non-for-profit, non-governmental organization. So PEFC International, where our seat is in Geneva, but we have overall 48 endorsed members around the world, and I will come back onto that. So PEFC was founded in 1999, so over 21 years ago, and really funded to cater for smallholders, first in Europe, but now, of course, globally. But we really we're funded to cater for the needs and the requirements for small family forest owners, and give them access to the certification market through already their sustainable practices, and thanks to their sustainable practices. So we are an alliance of national forest certification systems, and today we are the world's largest forest certification system. I'll come back onto the statistics. We set international standards with stakeholders at global and national level. We gather all our stakeholders, all the people who have an interest in forest, to together set those standards. So it's not just PEFC on its own in our office doing that. It's very much a multi-stakeholder approach. We assess and endorse national forest certification systems. So MTCC, our host, is for Malaysia, the Malaysian forest certification system, and they manage that system at national level. So Malaysia have their standards that meets the PEFC international standards, and they have their stakeholders, they handle the certification at national level. And of course, our role is not just the forest. Our role is also to promote sustainable forest management through third-party forest certification to the market. And I'm addressing you today because most of you are either listening today are either suppliers or retailers or manufacturers, converters, through paper and packaging products. So we are here to help you understand what is certification, understand the role that you are bringing to forest through certification. Today, PEFC is 300 million hectares of PEFC certified forest. That's about 10 times the size of Malaysia at global level, and it's growing. It's about over 1 million forest owners. As I said, we started really catering for smallholders right 21 years ago. 48 members are endorsed. So overall, PEFC accounts for 53 members, and some are members but not yet endorsed. So they are preparing the system to then be endorsed by PEFC experts, PEFC assembly and members governance. And in terms of chain of custody, 20,000 companies are certified in 83 countries. So from over 20,000 companies, you can source some PEFC certified materials around the world. Here you are looking at, broadly speaking, a growth chart from the onset of PEFC and our colleagues FSC. And you can see the growth from both of us. In green, you see the growth from PEFC certification. In blue, our colleagues FSC, and in yellow is the double certified areas. So some forests are both certified PEFC and FSC, and that's really linked to market dynamics. Bear in mind that only 13% of global forests are certified. So there's still a long way to go, especially in the context of deforestation. We need to increase the share, the overall scope of certified forest. What does this mean in terms of share between the two main certification systems? As you can see here, PEFC is available in terms of forest certification in across the globe. So this is where we have local expertise. At total level, our share is of 75%, so our share of certified forest. And you see here the split across the continents. So in Africa, it's a little bit more difficult here. So we only have 9% of certified forest. Asia Pacific, we have 75%. So what it means is in Asia Pacific, out of all the certified forests, not all the forests, those that are certified, PEFC and its members, including MTCC again today, together we hold 75% of that share of certified forest. In Europe, we are at 74%, North America, 82%, South America, 49%. So we are very pleased, and again, we are really dedicated to national expertise and dialogue with national stakeholders through our members. And here you have a good example. So I'm zooming a little bit on Asia Pacific. So in your region, we have 11 members that you see represented there by their logos. About 26 million hectares of certified forest. And that is growing. We have some new members, for instance, the Thai system in Myanmar. Vietnam is now showing a little bit of certified hectares, but they are all going to bring certified hectares in the years to come. So this is really good news. It means that in Malaysia and around Malaysia, for your businesses that are importing and exporting maybe as well, to know that wherever you are, you can source some PEFC certified material, because it could be, so it's under MFCC in Malaysia, which is recognized by PEFC. So that recognitions means that you can sell this product either in Indonesia or in China and so on. So there's mutual recognition, right, of the PEFC systems, the PEFC members. How does it actually truly work in the forest? So how does forest certification work? Now, I'm going to really touch on this top line because there's a lot to do. I mean, a training on just on the sustainable forest management part can take 2 days. Training on the chain of custody is also 2 or 3 days. If let's say you are an auditor, and by the way, if some of you are certification bodies online, if you are auditors, please check our website or contact me. We offer some, we give some trainings every year regularly for auditors to qualify as a PEFC auditor. So you can reach out on about that as well. So let me explain. Broadly, there are two main parts to certification. So from the forest all the way to your paper or to the packaging. First, you have what's happening in the forest. So the sustainable forest management, also what I simplify as SFM. And here it's really about, simply put, it's really about healthy forest ecosystem, healthy workers, healthy communities. We cannot protect forest if we don't consider the very important social elements around forest. So the communities that live around forest, the workers as well. Those are critical criteria and value to look after to stop deforestation. And so for PEFC, it's very much the balance of the 3 sustainability pillars: social, environmental, and economic. All 3 are intricately linked, and all 3 have to be balanced to protect forest and nature as a whole. The second part is, how does this work in the forest benefit the market? It is through our traceability mechanism called chain of custody certification. So here, the chain of custody certification, I will explain a little bit more later, gives the assurance of origin from sustainably managed forests. It gives, of course, the legal compliance. That goes without saying, but it is critical. And whether it's legal compliance, by the way, of within the forest management, but also throughout the chain of custody. And also it gives the third-party assessment, so the independently audited traceability. PEFC does not audit. We don't audit ourselves, as you understand, otherwise it would be not very objective. So it's through this system that I'm now going to explain how the PEFC certification model works. So you have PEFC standard setting. Again, I repeat, we set standard with our stakeholders. So whether they are global or national, it's a stakeholder dialogue and work. And we revise our standards regularly, every 5 years. Then we train certification bodies. So what you see here at the bottom right corner of your screen, some example of certification bodies. You may recognize some of them, who will be auditing either the forest or the chain of custody. And they will be delivering the certificate. So the audits are valid. The certificate is valid for 5 years, but there are some annual audits annual surveillance audits on a yearly basis. And then the role of accreditation body. So the accreditation body, I can't recall precisely the name of the Malaysian one, but I'm sure Sabrina can mention that later. But the accreditation body are basically here at national level to control and manage CBs, so make sure that, of course, they are doing their job, and also liaise with us on any issues. And all of this system is based on the ISO that is well recognized globally, exists for so many years, and have so many already standards. So in some ways, we're not reinventing the wheels. We are using some structure that are globally recognized and accepted, and we make that beneficial to forest for independent, impartial, transparent auditing and traceability. Moving into the sustainable forest management part, what's unique about PEFC? So I'm going to explain a few points here. First one is we implement global standard in local context. So whilst PEFC International has a global sustainability benchmark that, let's say, rules all our other standards, our national members will take that benchmark, study it, apply it at national level, and they will go further at national level on some of the local specificities. You can imagine that a forest in France is very different to a forest in Malaysia than a forest in South Africa, for example. People around this forest have different needs. The ecosystems are different. The economy is different. So it's super important that there is that the local context is taken into consideration. So this is why all our standards across all our members are the same based on the sustainability benchmark, but they go further on some local specificities. The process is aligned with IAF and ISO. IAF is the International Accreditation Forum. As I mentioned, we are multi-stakeholder engagement based on the agenda UN, the Agenda 21. So we don't have the 3 chambers, but those chambers are represented, and all agreements are through consensus of all our members and through the General Assembly. And this is how we've been operating for over 20 years, with really an emphasis on continuous improvement and continuous dialogue. This is very important, continuous improvement, so that we stay abreast of technology changes that forests could benefit from, technological changes, but also legal changes, biodiversity changes, and all of this has to be taken into consideration and discussed for results. We offer the largest source of certified materials worldwide, so for your benefits. Of course, we comply with all the world's legislation. I've touched on about being the system of choice for smallholders, and it's something that we are certainly want to put more emphasis on in Southeast Asia and Asia overall. And we really want to be holistic, pragmatic, and cost-effective. So it's not bureaucracy for the sake of bureaucracy. It's bureaucracy for the sake of protecting forest and traceability. But we also want to bear in mind, you know, that your businesses have already day-to-day pressures. And so we also want to be pragmatic for finding the balance between all our needs. Moving on to biodiversity. How is biodiversity managed in a PEFC certified forest? Again, this could be 4 or 5 pages in our sustainable forest management standard, so I will only pull out some of the essentials. We have ecologically important forest areas. This is our equivalence of the HCV concept. It's really about containing protected area sensitive and representative forest ecosystem. So it's really about protecting those high biodiversity areas, and so that they do not get harvested. There's also the whole ecosystem protection, the species, but there's also some elements linked to how they are managed, so some of the social elements. And here we're also talking about landscape approach. So it's again quite important to see the forest in a bigger picture. I talked at the beginning about the water catchment area. This is an example where those areas are highly important, highly sensitive to the ecosystem, and should be protected. There's a forestry management cycle in all our systems for inventory mapping and planning. And again, this is very important to keep an eye on not only the quantity, but also the quality of the forest. And moving on to the social aspects, how is PEFC supporting local communities and smallholders? Well, first of all, we created back 20 years ago group certification to include smallholders. If you are a forest owner in Finland, or any other countries, but in Finland, the average forest size is between 10 and 100 hectares, so it's quite small. So on your own, you can't really afford the certification, you can't afford the auditors, but as a group, if you merge with your region forest owners, then it becomes possible. Then you can have audited, share the cost, and have access to the certified market. And this is also what we're trying to implement in Asia. Social stakeholders are involved at national and global level. That's very important across representing the, as I said, the UN Agenda 21. So when I say that, is representative of forest workers, for example, indigenous groups representatives, scientific groups, NGOs, of course, foresters, the industry. So those groups are very critical to participate to the elaboration and the discussion of our standard. Also, in terms of social elements, FPIC, so free, prior, and informed consent, very critical everywhere, but of course where there are some groups of indigenous people who live and own some of the forest. Also, I would like to bring the attention to some innovation that PEFC brought in a few recently. We call it trees outside forest. So here again, it's about recognizing the efforts of some small landowners, whether they are rice producers around rice paddies, and they can have trees, or around another type of farm. So it's really recognizing those trees that will be planted for additional income for the communities, but also at the end also additional certified input into the supply chain. So again, social requirements are critical to forest health. Moving on, a little bit more technical here, although I will try to keep it simple. How do we ensure that all our members meet the many sustainable forest management requirements? So overall, as I mentioned, you will see on the left the sustainability benchmark, which is developed based on global stakeholders with global expectations. And our 48 endorsed members, so on the green one here, you'll see is one example of our MTCC Malaysian member. So they would translate this document and adapt it to enhance local specificities with national stakeholders. And it's only when those standards are done, verified by PEFC, and accepted by the PEFC governance and the PEFC members, then those systems can be endorsed. And there's a very strict standard setting requirements again. It's not just sitting around the table with a cup of coffee. It's really, there's a long process. Some of it is internal, some of it is external. So stakeholder mapping, working groups, but also there are some public consultations. So at some point, MTCC would advertise the draft of their standard publicly to anyone who wish to have access, anyone who wish to comment can do so. And there's really also a robust PEFC assessment and endorsement process. We have a standard dedicated to the endorsement and mutual recognition process for transparency, clarity, competence-based and continuous improvement. So for a member to become, let's say, to develop their standard, it could take several years. It could take 2 years, it could take 5 years. It really depends of each member and the dynamics in the national level. Then once that standard is approved at national level, for PEFC International, it could take about a year to review it and endorse it. So there are some strong steps here. Now, this was a little bit about SFM. What about chain of custody? Now, chain of custody, again, is quite complex. The traceability first bullet point, this is not new to our new revised standard. This is a core principle that has always been there for chain of custody. So traceability at each transformation stage. What the new standard is bringing, and the new standard is rolling out over a 2-year period, is sustainability requirement for control sources. So we've enhanced a little bit what is required for controlled sources to be part of the PEFC certified label. There's also enhanced social requirements, and we've also allowed for cross-site product group option. So again, to consider smaller companies to also have option for this cross-site auditing. What it means concretely for some of your products, whether you are paper or packaging, each step from the forest to that final product has to be certified. So the paper mill, the wholesale, the converter, and other steps that could be relevant to your product. So each processing steps must be PEFC certified in order to pass on the PEFC claim. If, let's say, the forest is certified, the paper mill is certified, the wholesale is certified, but your printer is not certified, then the end user, whether it's a retailer or a brand owner, cannot make the claim of using PEFC certified material. So it's very important that the whole chain is certified. In terms of label usage, how to be compliant. So basically there's a trademark contract to sign that is part of the certified company overall access. And for retailer brand owner, it's a specific contract. And then once you've signed that, you have access to the logo generator. So the logo generator to enable yourself to download the compliant labels. Now, moving on to consumers, I would like to have 10 minutes left, so I need to be careful with the time. I would like to launch the second poll. If you could please, Hasif. So the second poll, if you are ready to vote, according to a survey done by ProCarton, which is a European organization for carton, what is the percentage of consumers who would like to see on-pack labeling to show the packaging environmental status? So really have a guess. this poll was done with 7,000 consumers. Okay, we can just wait a couple more seconds. Okay, let's give us the result now. Super, thank you. So most of you have the right answer. The right answer is 90%. So 90%, it's huge. Yes, it is. Okay. So 90% of consumers who participated, so that those 7,000 consumers who answered this survey, said that it's important to have impact labeling to show the packaging's environmental status. 64% of consumers think that they should be more done by our retailers and brand. And they also very much trust natural renewable materials as they consider it the most important feature of packaging. So with that in mind, and with all the work that is happening in the forest and through the supply chain, how is PEFC assessed and recognized in the market? Well, first of all, don't just take it from me. Here, what you are seeing are some independently done assessment. On your left-hand side, you will see the TPAX. So this is the Dutch timber procurement assessment that they have carried out a few times now. The latest one was last year, on which they assess both PEFC and FSC, but here I'm showing you the PEFC results against their chosen criteria on SFM, on chain of custody, on endorsement. And the maximum score is 2, so you can get 0, 1, and 2. And PEFC International has scored maximum points on all their criteria, as you can see, so 2 points on each. This is also very important. That is true for the sustainability benchmark, but they also assessed Gabon, PEFC Gabon, PEFC Indonesia, and PEFC Russia. And our members also scored maximum points by the Dutch assessment. So we're really pleased with that. Another example nearer to home is the ASEAN RAI ranking, who again has assessed that 95% strength overall match of PEFC versus their criteria. So we're really pleased to have these assessments done to really show separately how strong PEFC and robust and credible PEFC is. And really, we support the SDGs, and by using PEFC, you also support the SDGs, and you meet organizations that have inclusive guidelines. So whether it's in the construction or in the packaging sector, like with the Consumer Goods Forum, they are recommending to have both PEFC and FSC in your procurement policy. And so this is a way forward, really, to protect forest. How can you be part of the solution? Of course, you're already probably doing it. And if you're not, then Sabrina will explain to you how to do it. But it's all about responsible sourcing via procurement policies. And I'm going to show you briefly some examples here, how Nestle talk about both PEFC and FSC, L'Oreal also have inclusive procurement policy, Samsung, Tesco, Unilever, or even SCT, who also both source FSC and PEFC certified material. Many more, some of the names here, some of them are local to you, are sourcing both. So how to make your responsible sourcing video visible? We talked about logo and trademarks earlier on, really by using the trademark. And there are examples here that I'm going to quickly flash through of brands that you use the PEFC logo, whether it's in food, whether it's in cosmetic, health and beauty, some of the publishing sector. And also bear in mind that what we support, of course, certified companies, we support their commitment and innovation. You have a few examples here of PEFC certified companies who really work hard on sustainability to bring sustainable product to the market, whether it's a bag, whether it's the APP food pack Bio Natura, plastic-free packaging, April 2030, who have very strong commitments with including 17 targets, the new paper bottle that is being tested in Europe. So there's really lots of innovation here. And this is good for again, bioeconomy. Some more example directly from Malaysia, with two strong examples here from the Royal Selangor International and One Tech International. So please continue those efforts into developing innovative sustainable products. Really, it remains me to say that we want to help you. PEFC wants to add value to their business by ensuring that you have access to traceability, by giving you access to global market, helping you to meet public and private procurement requirements and customers' expectations. So this is really important for us to make sure that the job that we do in the forest is benefiting the market overall, all the way through the consumer. So together we are part of the solution for a healthier planet. How can we help you? We can help you educate on forest certification and responsible sourcing. Today, you've just had a teaser from me. We can help you close the gap, certification gap in your supply chain. We can provide you with templates of inclusive procurement policies that you can draft, use, copy, paste, and adapt to your company. And of course, we'd like you to invite you to become PEFC certified under the MTCS. And Sabrina, my colleague, will tell you more about that in a few moments. So I think we're going to now skip the Q&A. The Q&A is actually planned for the end of the session, so I can see that I'm just spot on time. Don't hesitate to reach out. Here are some of our emails and numbers, but really protecting the quantity and the quality of forest is a collective action. So this is also why I'm calling you on this collective action, collective commitment with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabienne. Wow, that's a lot of information in a very short period of time. Thank you very much for making it very succinct and concise. I think I'm very happy to know that in my next trip to the grocers, I'm going to look out for the PEFC logo and all the packaging, paper packaging products that I'm going to purchase after this. So it really is a very insightful discussion, talk, sharing of knowledge, because what you've just mentioned just now, Fabienne, really resonates with the World Economic Forum's newsletter information just now that on climate change that actually said that sustainable land use and forest and natural resource protection is really priority. And right now, if you're looking at the mitigating and adaptation activities in your organization, you need to be more mindful about how you manage your resources, especially your raw materials when it comes to paper packaging and printers like us. So thank you again, Fabienne, for that sharing. I'm sure all our audience would have a lot of questions to ask later, especially when it came to the aspect of auditing and the stringent processes that we have to go through. So we'll leave that for later. Right now, let's take a look at how we have in the company been able to go eco, go green, and adopt those responsible sourcing practices. So over to you, Ms. Tesuting, on further discussions on PEFC certification. Please share your experience.
Okay, can everyone see the slides? All right. All right. Let me see. Okay. To make it bigger, just all right. Okay. So it's okay now. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. I'm now the Sustainability Director of NETS Framework. I'm going to share with you and introduce you to our eco-printing, PEFC certifications, and as well as CMPP carbon neutral print program. So today I'm going to briefly let you know who is NETS Framework and about the eco-printing and how we work into this CMPP. So our planets or our economy actually cannot survive if we continue the take, make, use, and throw away approach. So hence there's a raising of these sustainability concepts. We used to promote green by saying no to paper or going paperless. But now it seems that the paper is making a comeback and people are looking into paper instead of plastics because there's no plastics campaigns going on, and people are starting to look into alternative materials such as sustainable paper from well-managed forests. So we are in the paper related industry, and printing is what NETS Framework started as its core business since 1997. So it has been providing printing services for more than 23 years now, and we started to offer a total eco printing solutions in year 2009. So we have been the winner of Prime Minister Hibiscus Award, Exceptional Environmental Performance Award, SME Awards, and Selangor States Awards for the past cycle. And we are also certified with ISO 14001, ISO 9001, FSC, and PEFC, and My Hijama. So we are currently the only one in Malaysia that able to offer Serum Eco Label and Carbon Footprint Label. We have a vision to be the sustainable corporate to shape the eco lifestyle in Asia. So we are trying to achieve this through the strategy of creating awareness and educations, developing the green economy, creating a green culture, and working towards the sustainable civilizations. So when all the member states of the United Nations has adopted the UN SDG or Sustainable Development Goal in New York in 2015, we also started to embed the 17 SDGs in our strategy and then match nicely. So now you might be wondering what is eco-printing, and this is the eco-printing process that we are looking at. It is the life cycle of the printed material. So when we look into the life cycle, it started with our clients. So we also need to educate our clients so that they know how to ask for sustainable solutions. And our designer need to also come out with a good design with the eco design concept so that they will help to reduce the waste in the process or in the coming process. So in our printing sessions, we actually change the materials, the methods, as well as the machine. So what we have been doing is for the materials, there's a choice of certified paper as well as the local recycled paper. Because this was developed much longer, you can only see FSC there, and we just obtained PEFC recently. So we are going to change and update this PEFC in this our eco printing circle as well. So then for the inks that we are using vegetable-based ink, and for the machines that we are using is carbon neutral press, as well as its energy efficient. It cut down on the wastage of the paper and the ink. And with the environmental management system, we 100% recycle all the waste, or some of the waste that is able to upcycle, then we upcycle and turn it into other merchandise. So that's what happens in our printing press sessions. So if there's any finishing needed, we will also having some eco solutions for our clients, so that they're able to have a choice or alternative in their products. So from conventional printing to eco printings, we have changed as much as we can as the times goes by. So this is an examples of the eco labels that appeared in our printed materials. So it has the Cerium eco label, the carbon footprint labels, the FSC labels. So hopefully we'll see more products with PEFC labels coming on with us. So what we are doing, actually, we are looking into doing the right things. We make sure we choose the product and services from a sustainable supplier, and we have the sense of responsibility with all our stakeholders to the Mother Earth. So as Fabienne mentioned just now about the green procurement policy, we also have green purchasing policy in-house to guide us in all our green procurement or purchasing practices. So as mentioned, we just recently received our certificates from MTCC and our certification body. So normally when people ask for PEFC labels, they are either coming from a designer or agency. So they are looking for a certified printer, and for some other printers, they will also look for certified printer if they have clients who is looking for the PEFC label. So for a certified printer, we are one of them in Malaysia now. So these are some of the essential steps if you are looking into getting these FSC certificates. And from our experience, first you will need to look for suppliers that are able to provide you with the certified material. So for us, we actually started with just one supplier at this time, and we are looking for more paper suppliers to work with us. So the second one is the paperwork, the documentation part. So we have to make sure all our paperwork is compliance to the standards and procedure of PEFC. And of course, for our internal staff and the external suppliers, we also, our service provider, we call it now, and we need to provide them training. And bear in mind, for FSC or PEFC training, the auditor really goes to visit our suppliers and our subcontractors, and to make sure that actually they understand the procedure or the process involved in handling the materials of PEFC or PEFC. So the next one will be internal audit. So we have to make sure that we do the self-checking and to ensure the effectiveness of the system is in place. As mentioned just now, and this is why we need to mention paperwork is important, because it's actually also helping to ensure the traceability. So the traceability is going on, we can check through all these documents that is involved in the process. This is the training activities for internal and external party. and this is the internal audit. We are checking not just on the workflow, but also whether there's any corrective actions needed, or how do we prevent the same mistakes from happening. And also we need a summary of the materials, or we call it accounting records. So we are open for all the collaborations opportunities as we embed SDGs with us. So we are able to work with SMEs in the paper, print, or packaging industry to provide them with advising advisory service, and we also work closely to coordinate with certification body to create higher awareness for the industry, as what we are doing now. And we also advocate eco-office initiative projects to help other organizations to start green purchasing and the green practices. And we also actively engage with other governments or agencies to source for green fund and projects for other SMEs and for our partners. And we continue our circular value creations through eco-design innovations projects, especially some of the packaging products that you see just now. And we are looking into creating more innovative packaging products together. Okay, so now this carbon neutral print program is also one of our initiative, innovative idea. We are working with Global Environment Center and Malaysian's Nature Society. These are the two prominent NGOs in Malaysia that we are working with them in this program called CNPP. So it's actually a carbon offsetting program, specially designed for our clients who want to print with us, and we enable them to invest in tree planting projects so that we're able to balance the carbon footprint generated from the print process. So Less Eco will calculate the carbon emissions from the printing process based on the LCA, the product life cycle assessment. So this is a brief concept of what is carbon offsetting. So carbon is actually produced through our manufacturing process or through the fuel use during the transportation process. And all these carbon emissions can be offset through reforestation projects or renewable energy projects in order to achieve a net carbon footprint or a balance of carbon emissions. So why do we look into tree planting? As mentioned, it is part of one of the way to offset the carbon emissions, but there are other benefits of tree plantings as well. So I believe Fabienne has mentioned quite a bit of it. I'm just adding to some of the points. So it's to protect the forest and its ecosystem, the habitats of the flora and fauna in the forest, and to prevent or control fires, especially at the peat swamp forest, and to protect the shorelines from coastal erosions. And this will also prevent the floods from coming inland. The mangrove forests along the coastal regions are doing these jobs to help the protections from these floods from happening. And we also rehabilitate forest area. We also prevent the future encroachments into forest reserve area, and of course to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions in order to prevent global warming. So where are the planting sites for this program? Both our partners have a different site and different types of trees. So in Taman Alam Kuala Selangor, we are looking into planting mangrove forest. For Raja Musa Forest Reserve with GEC, we are looking into peat swamp forest, and we are actually planting at the degraded grassland over there. So how does this whole thing work is when we have clients and requests, then we'll do the carbon footprint calculations. and then we'll match the figures with the number of trees needed, and then we'll quote to the clients, and if they are okay, then we'll decide whether they are to go to the site to plant the trees, or if it's not enough, then our partners can actually do the planting for them. So at the end, our clients will get a carbon footprint statements to show to their managements as well as to their stakeholders of their initiative scientifically. So you'll be also wondering what are the costs involved. Currently, the estimated cost with GEC is around 75 ringgit per tree, but we need to plant a minimum of 600 trees for this 1 hectare of land. And of course, they will take care of the maintenance costs involved in this whole process of this 1 year. Okay. So this is a brief introductions of what NETS framework is working on, and the programs that we are offering for all our print buyer as well as for our partners in this industry. So we are looking forward to more engagements with all of you in our coming activities, not just the training, but also the printing services, advisory services that we are offering. So thank you very much, and hopes to come back to you with your questions at the Q&A sessions later.
Thank you, Suting. Thank you very much. Wow, that's really an awakening of my senses in looking at what are the activities pertaining to sustainability that you have carried out all this while. Here you have an SME who is a dual chain of custody certificate holder. We've got an SME who's looking into transitioning, who's actually transitioned into a eco business model, and also emphasizing on responsible supplier sourcing information. You are also providing stakeholders the handholding that they require in the SME community to ensure that they are now able to do the same and reach the leaps and bounds that you've actually managed. So thank you, Suting, for this exemplary initiatives all this while. I would like to understand from MTCC now, how difficult is it to be certified? So over to you, Ms. Sabrina Moasi, Manager Product from MTCC, to enlighten us on this whole certification process for PEFC. Ms. Sabrina, over to you.
Thank you, Sunita. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to Fabienne and some of our counterpart or participants from the European side. All right, my name is Sabrina. I'm the Manager for Chain of Custody in Malaysian Timber Certification Council. So today I'm tasked to provide some information on how to become PEFC certified under our scheme, Malaysian Timber Certification Scheme, or MTCS in short. Right. For the benefit of for those who are not familiar with us, I will now provide you with some information with regard to MTCC as well as MTCS. So Malaysian Timber Certification Council, MTCC in short, is a national governing body for the scheme that we are governed, Malaysian Timber Certification Scheme, MTCS. We are an independent and non-profit organization tasked to develop and implement a voluntary national timber certification scheme. We established in October 1998 following the decision of the 13th meeting of National Forestry Council, 1997. So this is MTCC vision, a nation that appreciates and internalizes the full value and contribution of forests toward global sustainability. And our mission is MTCC is committed to strengthen the MTCS to realize the full value and contribution of forests through sustainable forest management and chain of custody certification. So these are amongst our main activities. The first one is we are the national governing body implementing MTCS. We process the application for the notification of certification body. We issue logo licenses for companies that certify under our scheme in Malaysia. We also liaise with accreditation bodies and certification bodies. We implement the procedures and investigation and resolution of dispute and complaints and appeal. We also do support standard setting process and their periodic reviews. The pictures you can see are the members of the review for forest management certification standard. We also have awareness creation and capacity building for our auditors, and also we conduct technical briefing to forest management unit and also for companies for chain of custody, and we also engage with stakeholders. We also collaborate with regional and international partners. The second one. And we do promotion and marketing. We do participate in trade and mission exhibition. We increase awareness toward our certification by doing some media familiarization program. We do academic lectures and photography competition. So this is the component of MTCS. First one, we have forest management certification, which is for forest and forest plantation owner. Okay. And then we have chain of custody certification. This is for forest and tree-based industry. What you can see there is actually for timber industry, which starts from sawmills until the export point. So basically, because paper are under this tree-based material, so it's actually go under this chain of custody as well. So this is the institutional arrangement. You can see that in the middle of the institutional arrangement, the accredited certification bodies, which we have Standards Malaysia to check on their compliance, right? And while we are the governance of the scheme, so we provide the training for these accreditation bodies. So all the application will go directly through these CBs. These are the standards that we use under our scheme. The first one is for forest management certification. It's called Malaysian Criteria and Indicators for Sustainable Forest Management. This was earlier on mentioned by Ms. Fabienne, that this standard fulfilling the international requirements set by PEFC International. While for COC, we adopt only the PEFC International Standard, which is PEFC ST 202/2020, Chain of Custody of Forest and Tree-Based Product and Requirement. Why do we adopt only this international standard? Because we want to be at par with all the rest of the companies who are certified under PEFC. So therefore, in a way, those companies in Malaysia are at the same level with the rest of the COC holders around the world. And also, we would like for Malaysian companies to fulfill the due diligence requirement under a number of procurement policies such as European Union Timber Regulation, EUTR in short, and Australian Illegal Logging Prohibition Act in Australia, and also Lacey Act in the US. So these are the areas that certified under, sorry. Okay, these are, sorry, can you go back? All right. Okay, these are the certified areas under the MTCS. As mentioned by Ms. Fabienne earlier on, we are the second largest area certified here in Asia Pacific region. Okay. So we have 22 forest management unit covering 5.13 million hectares around Malaysia, and we have 8 forest plantation management units, which all of it located in Sabah and Sarawak. So the total forest certified areas are 5.2 million hectares in Malaysia. So this is the information about certified company under MTCS. As of December last year, we have 382 companies issued with PEFC COC certificate in Malaysia. And you can see that paper, envelope, tissue, printing is only a handful out of these 382 companies. So most of our certificate holders come from the timber industry, which you can see sawmills are the major certificate holders in Malaysia. There are 22 types of certified product being exported from Malaysia, but these are the 4 main types that currently being exported to all PEFC market around the world. The first one is sawn timber, then followed by plywood, molding, and also wood pellet or biomass. So basically, this was touched earlier on by Ms. Fabienne, but I will just add in something that MTCS is the first tropical forest scheme in Asia Pacific region to be endorsed by PEFC in 2009. So we are the first one here in Asia Pacific. And this is the certificate of endorsement. We were re-endorsed in July 2014, and currently we are in the midst of re-endorsement for the second time for another 5 years. And with this endorsement, we are mutually recognized by 47 other PEFC endorsed schemes around the world. So this is what you guys been waiting for, how to become PEFC certified. So previously, Ms. Tay has also shared her experience on the procedure and provided some tips to those who have yet been certified. I will now go in depth with the procedures to be certified under MTCS. So we'll focus on the blue part first to get prepared. So the first step, you need to contact PEFC national office in your country. So in this case, if you are located in Malaysia, come and approach us so that we will provide you with some information and we will provide you with some briefing and training if necessary. And then you can select and contact a PEFC recognized CB that operates in your country. I will later on show you what are the CBs that has been notified by us, being locally and also internationally. Okay. After that, please prepare for the audit, where first you need to get familiar with the documentation. So you can see there we have given you the link at www.pefc.org, where you can download the standard for COC requirement, also for the trademark use. Okay, there are 2 standards that you need to be familiar with to become a COC certificate holders. So next step, you need to identify the products that you want to certify and how you want to use the logo on top of your product. So some companies, they could have more than 3 products and they will want to certify only some of them. Some companies will certify everything under their roof. So it's up to the applicants, what do they want to certify. Then you need to identify, verify the material category of input materials and check the certified status. So if you remember from Ms. Tay presentation just now, she did mention that you need to get to know who is your supplier. So first thing first, you need to know what's going to coming into your meal. And then if you already have your current suppliers, what you can do is just go to PEFC website, and on the right hand on the top, there you will find certified button. Then you can actually check the status of that company in PEFC. So if they are in that website, so most probably they are certified. What did I mean is you need to check also the validity of the company. Okay. And then you can choose your certification option, whether you want to be individually certified or multi-site or producer group. So most of my certificate holder here in Malaysia under individual certificate. So, but there are also companies who have more than one processing site, so they will opt for multi-site certification. Okay. Then next, you need to set up your management system in compliance with PEFC requirement. So basically, this requirement is very similar to ISO 9000 and 14000. So for those companies who have yet been certified, but you are certified to 9000 or 14000, rest assured that this is very similar, and you can actually opt that information to your new standard operation procedures for chain of custody. So what you need to look into is management system requirement, how you source the material. Of course, you need to take care of your workers. So therefore, there is a social health and safety requirement under the standard. And you need to select your method, whether you want to go for physical separation or percentage-based method. Okay, that depends on how you run your company. And then the most important part is to minimize risk from controversial sources. You need to undergo PEFC due diligence system requirement. There's a set of requirements that you need to fulfill to confirm that the material that you use is not coming from the controversial sources. Okay, next step, you need to brief and train your staff so that when the auditors come and audit you, they will have a record to, you will have a record to show that your staff has been trained either by you yourself or any consultant or directly by MTCC. Okay, the last one, before you go for external audit, you need to conduct internal audit to make sure all the systems are in place. So once all is done, okay, the next step is for the audit with the external partner, which means up to you to choose whether the local CB or international CB. So once you arrange, you will receive PEFC, once you arrange an audit and go through the audit, they will send an auditor to check your compliance with the standard. So once you are verified compliance to the standard, you will receive a certificate that is valid up to 5 years. So some of the CB that we have here in Malaysia, they provide you with 3 years with 2 surveillance audits in between, or 5 years with 4 audits in between, surveillance audit in between. So it's up to you which one do you want to choose. The next step is you come back to MTCC, show us the copy of certificate that you have received, and apply for the trademark logo from us. Okay. So next step, what do you do when you already receive your certificate? So we move to the green box. Use the PEFC label on the certified products to demonstrate that you resourced your material responsibly. So be amongst them who have proudly show that we are certified, we are compliant to sustainable procurement by showing this trademark. You can see that below the trademark, below the logo, there's a number. So for those companies who are certified, you will also be given that number that only referring to your company if they check on the PEFC website. So I hope this is a one page that will help you to look into what you need to do before you are certified. Okay. These are the local CBs that are accredited to Standards Malaysia. We have Serim International, we have SGS Malaysia, we have Bureau Veritas Malaysia, we have PSB and Intertech Malaysia that can do the job for you. So you can actually chat with them, how they can, what is the cost and when they can come to audit you. Apart of this, there are also a number of international PEFC notified CBs that can do the job here in Malaysia, such as DQS, Japan Gas, NAPCON, Bureau Veritas, France and Sweden, SGS Quali4 and SGS Swiss, and name a few there, Control Union. But the charges will be different. It's just that because I think they have branches here in Malaysia, so they are also allowed to conduct the COT audit here in Malaysia. So you can choose this one. So if you need to choose local CB, these are the information for the local CB. While for the international CB, you can always log into PEFC international website to look for their contact and information. Okay. So basically, these are the what Ecosentido has gone through. They apply for certification with CB and they were audited by their selected CB. And then if there's any correction action or NCR, it needs to be closed before the certificate is issued, or else they will strictly issue to you and you'll be issued with certificate. So depends on which CB issuing the certificate to you, then the certificate will be different, but the information in the certificate will be the same. I think that's all from me. Should you need further information, you can always contact us directly, which we have provided you with the information. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sabrina. That was very enlightening as well. Now we know exactly what we need to do. We need to get our ISOs right. We need to get our standards right. And most of all, we've got to contact you. As simple as that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the three ladies have spoken. Coincidentally, Harini, everyone, all our presenters, our speakers are ladies. Thank you, ladies. And let's now take a listen to questions. But since we're in the moderating stage and we've got another 30 over minutes to go, which means that you have all the time to type in your questions in the chat section. And if you'd like to speak and ask the question, please raise your hand so that we could invite you and we could unmute you at the same time. So I'm going to start with the first question. And the question is going to Fabienne, because Fabienne, you mentioned just now that in the process of trying to ensure that companies, especially SMEs who are working or who are aspiring to work with larger brand owners and brand names, PEFC certification is one way to get about doing this. Now, how do we as a small company, as a small SME, get that visibility from PEFC? Would you be able to share some insights?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Sunita. And I very much like the question because, of course, everyone should have access to certification, whether it's a large company or an SME. And at PEFC, we don't differentiate. A lot of our members actually work hard on the ground to have a direct link with SMEs. They will have SMEs, once certified, will be listed at the same under the same condition as any other companies on our website in the list of certified companies.
Right.
So if you type the name of let's say sorry, the name is escaping me. If you type the name of any or NetSprint work, for example, from Ms. Tesolting, then you will see NetSprint work coming up on our database.
All right, that's interesting to know, because that really creates a lot of visibility for companies in the SME space, especially when it's dealing with larger brands. Thank you, Fabienne, for that answer. I think that really tells us a lot about how we can get ourselves visible on international platforms like this by ensuring that we get the certification done right, and then getting ourselves recognized and being on that platform. Thank you, Fabienne. I would like to ask Ms. Tay this experience, because often when you talk about SMEs and audits, the first question is, do we have to go through the audit process? Is it an easy process? So, Ms. Tay, from your experience and in your experience in consulting other SMEs in the same industry, how have you been able to handhold them to show them an easy method in getting through these audits?
As I as I have shared in the presentation just now, so the first thing is you need to find supplier that is certified for you to kickstart the whole process to prepare yourself for the certifications. So then the documentation part will be the formal standards documents part that you can either work on it yourself, or you can actually hire consultants to help you up on this part.
Right. Thank you, Misu. Well, getting the documentation and going through those standards and trying to understand that is easy for some, may not be so easy for some others. But going into that, I'd like to now direct a question to Ms. Sabrina. Ms. Sabrina, you mentioned just now that there are 382 companies who have been certified. Question. Did these companies actually come to you and get themselves certified easily? Were there some hiccups along the way? What do you think? What were they, and how can we learn from those hiccups so that we don't get into that same game? Miss Sabrina?
Not all of them come directly to us. Some come they certify on their own because there's a request from the market, especially the exporters. Some of them be due to the company requirement, ability. So for those who come directly to us, sometimes they are not aware of this certification or the requirement, but because of the request from the buyers, then they have to do it. So in a way that we need the force of the market to do it as well.
That's true.
Mr. Yong, want to add something?
Please.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Young.
Hello, Young. Yeah, just to add on this aspect of, there are people who actually come to us to seek for certification. The latest development that we have is that there is a need for certification of bamboo, the non-timber forest products. So the industry have kind of like approached us to look into ways how could we do that. Because right now, as far as we are concerned under the MTCS, we have been actually focusing on the timber products, not so much yet on the non-timber forest products.
Right.
Because of the demand of the market out there looking for certified non-timber forest products. So they have actually come to us and asked us, could we then look into a way of including this non-timber forest product within the scope of certification, so that aspect could also be addressed. So in the sense that I think more and more people are getting aware of the importance of sustainability and doing their bit for the environment to ensure that there is a need to ensure that, the future is sustainable by going through this requirement for sustainability and so on. So I think the awareness is building and people are getting more and more aware and asking for products. And therefore, I think the consumers would be becoming very important in terms of, joining hands with us in pushing this sustainability agenda. So together we could do our best in ensuring that the natural resources that we have are utilized in the best possible way to ensure the their sustainability as well as to ensure the sustainability of the businesses as well. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Well said, Mr. Young, because there may be systems available everywhere, and systems like this are applicable to various types of stakeholders. However, the system can be expanded to new emerging requests and demands in order for them to meet the supply-demand expectation. So let me then point to this question. I'm not sure if this goes to Fabienne or if this goes to MTCC. Let's take a look. I'm a PEFC certified plywood. Thank you, Eddie Chung, for this question, by the way. I'm a PEFC certified plywood manufacturer. I sell to my customers in Japan through a trading house. Does the trading house in Japan need to have PEFC chain of custody? There is no work added on the part of the trading house. That's a very interesting question. So I would like to ask, does this go to Sabrina now?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Eddie Chong, for this question. Basically, for a very good traceability, it is good for this trader house to be certified. However, knowing that most of these trading companies, they don't have much stuff with them, so, and normally it's only paperwork. So basically it's go more into technical as how to deal with uncertified trading house, which is the trail of paperwork, especially the DO need to have the PFC claim on it to ensure the next client who receive it can claim it as a PFC certified.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Thank you, Sabrina. I think I would like to thank Makiko Horio for also taking this question and saying, thanks for the question. I'm from PEFC Japan. Yes, if the trading house wants to sell the plywood as certified products with PEFC claim, they will need the PEFC certification. So there you go, Eddie Chung. I hope your question is answered now. Now, talking about when you talked about DO, Sabrina, that's a very interesting question. I wanted to ask Ms. Tay just now. I realized that, when you talk about PEFC certification or responsible sourcing, it starts right from the finance to the purchasing to the logistics to the warehousing and to the designer, and the entire department in an organization is involved. So when it comes to this PEFC audit and also certification process, how do you involve these departments? Sometimes SMEs has got very small number of people in the department. So how did you tackle that, getting them to understand the certification need and be able to implement it in a simple thing as a DO? So maybe, Ms. Tay, would you be able to help us to understand how we can actually do this?
Yeah, Sunita. We actually started with FSC certification. So our internal colleagues already have a view of the process of how paper from well-managed forests work. And so we started to have the training sessions on PEFC and to involve all that is going to involved in this whole process of PEFC materials handling. So right from the procurement, the purchase officer, to the sales coordinators that is going to involve in issuing all the sales documents like PO, SO, invoice, PO. So then, of course, the sales personnel, they also need to understand the concept before they can actually promote to the clients. So this is how in the training, all these peoples are invited to be trained on this PEFC, and that's how they can actually learn and start to questions to the trainers, and then we able to gather the whole process flow of this PEFC to everyone, and we just flow accordingly to that match with our process. As just now Sabrina mentions, if companies has the ISO 14001, 9001, it's also easy for them to integrate this new system in their existing system. So we are also ISO 9001 and 14001 certified. So yeah, we are kind of get used to these requirements, and just that we have added more to the existing system and to integrate the new labels or eco labels to our list of compliance, I would say, that we need to do. And
Okay.
one important point is the reason why we are getting all these eco labels is all self-initiative. It's not because of any client's request. So this is also another point that makes us different from others organizations. And because of this self-initiative that we are getting into all these certifications to add the green values to our supply chain, as well as to add the values for our market positioning.
Right. So it's a voluntary initiative. Fabienne, you had a question. You raised your hand. Go ahead.
Simply to add and actually what Mr. has just said in terms of the system. It's really, as you implement your internal management system, it will be integrated, it can be integrated, it will be integrated into your existing ISO system. So it's not complete new world or new bureaucratic steps. It will be integrating into your ISO system. And the second point as well is because I'm promoting certification and inclusivity, as you've heard me. So already, if you have the FSC certification, your auditor can easily double audit for both PFC and FSC at the same time. The requirements in the standards, the chain of custody standards, are very similar. So you won't be paying twice the price for doing an FSC audit and a PFC audit. No, you can really negotiate with your auditor, to have those audits done. And at a very similar, let's say, well, for nearly the same price. So again, have these discussions and ask advice from my colleagues at MTCC. But it is doable. And once your management system is in place, you will see it will really help to running smoothly your organization.
That's correct. I do agree with you on that sense, because when you talk about a dual certification, it works very well when you can negotiate both the processes and the certification of both the certificates for FSC or PSC and PSC simultaneously. However, when you talk about getting the ethics right, is there an ethics issue, MTCC, Sabrina, as far as trying to negotiate dual certification processes in SMEs?
Based in my experience, yes, there are a number of companies that hold both PFC and FSC, but here in Malaysia, normally they will audit differently. They will not merge it together, though the requirements are very similar.
Right.
And no, they will audit differently.
Okay. Well, I guess some companies would prefer to work on it on a separate angle, because then it gives them an opportunity to also review the processes and give some breather space and time from one audit process to another, because then they can have all the corrective actions taken and mitigated. Those risks that were supposed to have been mitigated could have been mitigated in that duration. Now, coming back to the question on how PEFC certification can really help us, I want to just ask the same question or a similar question to Sabrina again. Do SMEs that you've experienced so far actually approach the certification to realign with their global brand supply chain assessments, or are they just approaching it because they want to be able to be visible with new product development or new service development or in the market? What is that motivation like?
I think in the past it could be from the buyers, but I think the new generation who took over the companies, or now with a lot of new companies, these youngsters, very aware of the accessibility directly. Like one of these company that producing souvenirs. So they do it from because of they want to do it, and because they want to obtain sustainability for their market, and their market is like for them is not only for Malaysia, they are opening their market internationally. So they think that is something that needs to be done, not the market requirement only, but for them, like they said, for the name to put your brand there at that level. Yeah.
Nice. So branding recognition is not the only reason why SMEs should consider taking on PEFC certification, but also to ensure that they are demonstrating their responsibility towards protecting the environment and being a standard business operator who's really a responsible business operator. I think that's a very noble way of approaching it, because considering the fact that whatever is happening right now, I think people have been saying this over and over again. Because of the pandemic, a lot of businesses are looking at reviewing ways to become more responsible. So yes, I would feel that managing their materials is one way of being responsible. Managing the way in which they manage their supply chain is another. And of course, the third is getting their supply chain vendors to also manage their risks. And being able to generate opportunities from there is one other way in which we can all benefit from the shared value initiatives of supply chain and forest management or forest certification like PEFC. I would like to ask this question to Fabienne. We've got another 10 minutes, 9 minutes more. Fabienne, what can SMEs look forward to in 2021 now that we're clearing off the pandemic and we're looking forward to something new?
So, I mean, we have a beautiful example with NetSprint's work, right? From Ms. Tay, who clearly highlighted this is all self-initiative driven. And we tend to forget that SMEs represent a huge amount of the economic dynamics, and so it's important, and we often. So I work at international level with a large organization who set guidelines for their members, whether it's the Consumer Goods Forum with all the food and the consumer goods industry, or whether it's on the construction side with BREEAM and so on and so forth, and the Green Building Council. But for SMEs, a lot of them are doing some great work on the ground. So for us, focusing on the years to come, it's really through our members at national level that we are best placed to help SMEs. So because there could be a language barrier, right? I mean, I can't speak Malay, for instance, or other languages. So it's for us at PEFC International is developing some marketing plans, tools really to equip SMEs and to better reach SMEs with our programs. So simple infographics, simple brochures, some again simple videos. So all the work that that my colleagues, for instance, in Malaysia are doing, this is what needs to reach SMEs on the market, and this is how, with our local members at PEFC, we can't do that from Geneva. It's not going to work, but it's really through our national members that we achieve that quality of contact and that quality of support. Right. We're trying to really centralize some best practices. So for instance, whether something has worked for PEFC Spain or PEFC Chile, then we centralize those best practices and make them accessible to all the members. And really trying to understand how SMEs work. They have, they have very little time. They're not as resourced as the big multinationals. They have smaller budget. So it's really understanding them, what they need, what their issues are, that we can better help them. So it's ongoing work.
Nice. Fabienne, you mentioned that very well, because when you talk about SMEs, we are not a standalone. We work and we rely and we support the larger brand owners in the course of our business. So In that support, I'd also like to channel the next question to Ms. Tay. Ms. Tay, when we talk about larger brand owners, we have in the process of printing, talk to people like in the banking industry, and they are now looking at, offsetting their greenhouse gas initiatives. How do we now help them and educate them on PEFC certification? How do you think we can help them? Or what have you done and your experience in doing this?
Yeah, thanks for the questions. As you all know, we just newly certified with PEFC. So we are still need to promote more on PEFC to our clients so that we will have some real products to share with our clients. So what we have been doing recently is to talk to CIRIM, because as I mentioned, we are the license holder for CIRIM Ecolabel for printed materials, and we actually participate in the working committees on the setting up of the criteria. So previously we only put FSC in that session. So now we are putting up a request to add PEFC as well. So when people are coming to us to obtain the CIRIM Ecolabel, and if they are using the PEFC paper, so the printed materials can also place the CIRIM Ecolabel as well. So this is what we are doing at this moment. And coming up, what we are planning, I mean, in a company-wide side, is to take all the certified papers for our print jobs. So we will, in a way, reduce the risk of mixing the paper, the non-certified and the certified one. So this is one of the plan with the management to, since we already have 2 certifications on paper. So I think this is a good move of the company, in a way also to reduce the paperwork in another way for our staff.
Nice. That's a very ethical and manner in which you're managing this. I would like to ask the last question to Sabrina before we go into the closing and the picture session, the photo session. Sabrina, when companies come to you, right, especially when you mentioned most of the companies are from the timber based companies, we'd like to know, how do you then connect them to the rest of the companies who are already certified? Do you do some form of a complementary a negotiation sort of engagement, so that every company, every member with you know exactly what each and everyone is doing, and they can then turn that into a networking for future businesses? So how are you helping with that, Sabrina?
Okay, normally when this company come and approach us, we will provide briefing to them. So one of it is like get to know who are their suppliers, so that we know that maybe normally these companies, they do get their supply from certified companies. It's just that they are not aware that those companies are certified. So we ask them to look into the PEFC website on the list of the companies that are already certified. Case that they in the future they will get more orders for certified products. Are the companies that they can look after for supply. And we normally will assist companies like be in the local companies or international companies that are looking for supplies. Will normally send us email that we're looking for this, and this, and we will inform our certificate holders that there are these companies from here, and here looking for this type of material. Maybe business to business discussion.
Matching. Right. Excellent. Sabrina, thank you. Right on the dot, Sabrina, the answer. We are at 5:29 right now. So I'm going to thank Sabrina, Suting, and Fabienne. I know it's 8:30 in the morning that you had to join us, Fabienne. I'm not sure whether you got your morning coffee yet or not. So I'm just going to ask you to hang on a second, because we're going to get into the group photo session now. So I'd like all our audience to turn on your video, please, so that we can take a group photo, and we can hear the closing remarks from Fabienne, Sue, and Sabrina. So we're all on. Yes, we are. And the group photo is going to start now. 1, 2, 3, smile. And one more. 1, 2, 3, smile. Excellent. Thank you. Now, closing remarks. Fabienne, very quick one.
Well, a big thank you to all of you at Ecosentido, NetPrint's work, and also, of course, MTCC for this invitation and give me the opportunity to talk about PFC and how we can help. So remains me to say that please reach out. We'll be delighted to help you, whether it's at international level or regional level, for putting you in touch with our contacts, and reach out to the MTCC fantastic team. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabienne. Miss Sue?
Thank you very much for Miss Fabienne and Sabrina from MTCC for support in these programs, and we managed to organize these international programs with some international participants through your network as well. So thank you very much, and we hope to put on more programs in coming future, and together with MTCC and PEFC, we can in a way create higher awareness to create more products in using these materials and to introduce it to bigger markets. Thank you.
Right, more responsible sourcing initiatives coming right up. This is Sabrina.
Right. I would say thank you to Ms. Tay from NetPrint, also Ecosentido, to invite us for this program, and also thank you for Fabienne to joining us. And again, like what Fabienne said, please reach out to us for any assistance that you need. We are always here, even though it's MCO here and we are working from home, but we are reachable. Just go through our website and you can see the contact number of the person in charge.
Right, and the one very important person I'd like to thank again is Mr. Yong Teng Kun, CEO of MTCC, for helping us, members, COC certificate holders, in getting this event on the run. So thank you, Fabienne. Thank you, Mr. Yong. Thank you, audience. Mr. Yong.
Yeah, can I say a few words as well? Thank you, I think, to NetPrint and Ecosentido for actually taking the lead by approaching us to want to have a session like this together. I think at this juncture in time where resources are scarce, populations are increasing, demand for resources are getting higher. I think the call for us to be responsible in terms of production, in terms of consumption, has not come at a better time like this. I think all of us need to be, do our part in terms of ensuring, a sustainable future for the future generations. In fact, if you see at the back of Sabrina just now, we have a banner that we have adopted the tagline, Sustainable Forest, Sustainable Future. I think, the forest plays such an important role, in terms of livelihoods for all of us. It's indeed a supermarket that provides all the essential goods and services for us. It is only right that we actually take good care of them. And I think if we do that, I think all of us today who are gathered around this webinar here, we are doing our level best in terms of doing what we think is the right thing to do in ensuring that the resources that we have being given, God given to us and so on, we want to be a good steward in ensuring that these resources are being well managed, well utilized, and in the process of utilizing them as much as possible, we do not want to waste them. That's why I think we go into recycled timber and so on. We want to reuse them as much as we can. And especially so that, in the sense of looking at timber being a renewable resource and something that we can actually grow back. And in the natural environment, if we harvest them in a responsible manner, they can continue to actually regenerate itself. without us actually having to do reforestation and so on. But sometimes, you know, in the past, there are some mismanagement and so on. Today, we need to go into reforestation, afforestation, and so on. But if we have done it right from the beginning, we will not have to do that. But it is never too late for us to do what is the right thing. And I think today, all of us who gathered around this webinar, we are actually doing our best to look at the whole subject of sustainability and how we can play a role in ensuring that, you know, the resources that we have is sustainable. And therefore, I think we are the like-minded people here. And I salute all of you for the effort that you have put in embarking on sustainability journey. And I hope that we will continue to work together, supporting one another, encouraging one another, so that we can continue to do our part to ensure that we will leave a forest that is more sustainable for the sake of our future generation. And with that, I thank you all of you again for joining us in this session. And I hope that for those who have participated in this event, you have found the event to be meaningful and helpful. And for those who have not become PEFC certificate holders, I appeal to you also, please join us in this meaningful journey and endeavor of ensuring that the resources and the timber that we use are sustainable. Thank you very much, all of you.
Inspiring message, Mr. Young. Thank you. With that, thank you, audience, for your attention, feedback, questions. We really look forward to hearing more from you after this session. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Take care. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.